Welcome to Closer to Venus. I'm Johnny Burke, and today's guest is Nada Harb. She's the founder of the Divine Great Spirit Academy, creator of the Womb Wellness Method, and host of the Great Spirit podcast. In this episode, we'll discuss navigating the matrix, exploring the Ascension journey, and multidimensional living, all through the lens of the Divine Feminine. Nada, welcome to the program.
Thank you, John. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Indeed. Navigating the matrix. This is going to be an interesting one. Okay. Tell us how you got started on this journey, whether it was an ascension journey or it was just your first steps into the intuitive world.
Growing up, I was always intuitive. I always, obviously, like all of us, I was an empath. And I could kind of see and sense the presence of beings, whether they were angelic beings or they were not so pleasant beings. But I never really knew how to interpret what I was seeing because obviously back then, I'm an 80s chick, there was no internet. I couldn't just Google what was going on. But really things started to open up when I was 14 years old. I used to live in Dubai and we were having a sand dune race. So I was sitting in the back seat of a Wrangler that was a convertible Wrangler. And we got into a car accident and I kind of flew out of the car. And as I was floating out of the car, I kept floating higher and higher and higher. And life started to feel very blissful and everything started to feel really magical and magnificent. And then I looked down because I wasn't coming back down. I thought I was like flying out of the car and I was about to hit the floor. But when I looked down, I realized that my body was on the floor. And I couldn't understand what was going on. Like, why am I in this place that's so beautiful and my body was on the floor? Then I started seeing everyone crying and everyone screaming and everyone was panicking. But I just wanted to stay where I was. And I was like really looking around and trying to understand what I saw. I saw so many different things. And then I saw them carry me. The ambulance came, they carried me, put me in the car. And then I was like, oh my God, I need to go back to my body. And I woke up in the hospital getting stitches. That was like the main catalyst in my life to discover the metaphysical world. I got really hungry to know what is actually happening behind the scenes and what are the things that I saw. That was the beginning of my journey.
Now, what you just described sounds an awful lot like a near-death experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I died for a few minutes and I came back.
Were you out at the hospital or you were just out of your body for a few minutes?
I was out of my body while I was still in the desert. But then when I saw them take my body into the ambulance, that's when I decided I needed to go back. And I woke up in the hospital.
Okay. You mentioned before that you were able to sense certain beings, some friendly and some not so friendly. You mentioned angels as well.
Yeah.
You were visited by angels when you were young.
Yeah, correct. Specifically, like my main angel guide that's been with me throughout every big movement is Archangel Gabriel. And Archangel Gabriel would come in, teach me a few things, show me a few things, help me with a few things, then step out, and then other angels would show up. But Archangel Gabriel's been like the constant one.
I was surprised at how often the archangels came up in these kind of discussions. It happens a lot. So what did he look like, for one thing? Because I've heard different versions.
You know what I've come to understand, John, is that angels will present themselves because they're actually energy. They don't really have a form, but they will present themselves to how our brain can understand them. They're much more angelic looking or magnificent looking or divine looking than what we perceive them to be with our third eye. The way I first saw Archangel Gabriel, I remember I was just waking up in the morning and I felt this really beautiful presence next to me, standing next to my bed. And I got really scared because I wasn't comfortable experiencing that much love. It was just oozing so much love. It looked like an angel. So it was like this big diamond being, etherically, and it had like gracious royal wings. And I asked, like, who are you? And I heard, I'm Archangel Gabriel, and I'm here to show you a few things, if that's okay with you. And what I like about angels, yeah, they're very polite. Yeah, they like to respect the law of free will. So you want to be on board when they're teaching you things. The interesting part is that I always thought that Archangel Gabriel was masculine. When I met Archangel Gabriel, there was no gender. He, she was both masculine and feminine at the same time.
As you mentioned before, they tend to present themselves in a way that is comfortable for us to accept them.
Yeah, like we as humans, we have a concept of what angels would look like. So they would show up in that form. Every time I've seen an angel, they carry the same similar colors. So it's like diamond, it's like electric blue, gold, silver colors. They could be wearing like a golden robe or they'd have like blue shimmer within them. One day, I went up to the Oraphim Council. So the angels are kind of like learning underneath the archangels. And then the archangels are learning underneath the councils. And there are three angelic councils that govern the earth or look after the earth or guide the earth. And they are the Oraphim Council, the Seraphim Council, and the Elohim Council. So I got really affiliated with the Oraphim Council. And when I went up to the council the first time, they were like really big orbs. So they were like just round energies. And then when I stepped in and my brain was trying to understand what am I seeing, they morphed into angelic form. And that's when I understood, oh, they show up the way we need to see them so we can understand them.
Is the communication more of a telepathic type of contact with them?
Yes, it's telepathic.
And they immediately get that impression and they present themselves.
Everybody has different psychic centers that are open and active, even though we all have them all. So for me, my ears are open so I can hear when beings are talking to me very clearly as if it's you speaking to me. And I can see energy. When I saw them in the Oraphim Council, it's not like they were reading my mind, even though they can read my mind. I was just thinking like, oh, how come they're orbs? And then they morphed. So in a way, yeah, they do present themselves the way that we want to see them. So we can understand them.
So there's three councils that rule the earth. Do they rule any other planets?
They actually govern the entire universe. We have more than one universe. So they govern all the planets and all the life that is, because the universe is kind of like a school. So they're kind of like overlooking the growth and the development of all beings in this universe, Earth included.
So there's three councils. Are they in any way related to what is commonly referred to as the Council of 12 that people often report in NDEs? Is that related or is that something different?
It could be because in the council, they are always 12. I've never seen 8 or 13. There are always 12 angels. There's specific 12 ones. So it could be the same one.
Could be the same thing. Okay. So going back to the NDE, you were able to sense beings and things like that before the NDE, heightened abilities like heightened psychic abilities or?
Absolutely. Like after the NDE, yeah, it's like everything just opened up. And till today, I walk in both realms at the same time. So I'll walk in the physical world, but energetically, I can see, feel, know what is also going on. And lots of people have lots of things in their space, and everybody has angels around them all the time. It's incredible. Yeah, it's really interesting. What I've come to understand is that there are 3 types of frequencies on the planet if we were to categorize them. At the end of the day, we're all part of God. There's no exceptions and there is no separation. If we were to categorize people, how they incarnate on the planet, what I've understood is we have like what I call them the Earthians. So these are people that have come to Earth. They have come straight from their soul essence to Earth. And they've lived here for a very long time and they just keep incarnating on Earth. Then you have the starseeds. They are also from Source's essence, but they've lived in more futuristic, more advanced realities that have more healing properties and technology. And then they incarnate in a human body so they can bring that wisdom, that knowledge to humanity. And then you have the Earth Angels. So I'm associated to the Oraphim Council. And a lot of people are too. Either the Oraphim, the Elohim, and the Seraphim, they're very similar. They just have a very slight different frequency. And then they would be Earth Angels. But at the end of the day, all 3 of us are here to grow, evolve, learn, heal, and realign ourselves back to God.
And it's all about frequencies at the end of the day, right? There's a difference between like a vibe, which has kind of a negative connotation because it sounds new agey, but frequency seems to be a little bit more precise. So let's talk about the matrix. I've heard a lot of interesting theories, experiences. So there's apparently star races, many of them. And you even hinted that There are some beings that are friendly and some that are not so friendly. So what is your understanding of the Matrix in the first place?
When I died for a few minutes and I was feeling this absolute bliss in my body, in my light body, like my physical body was on the floor. When I looked around, I saw and felt the energy of unconditional love. And what I understood in that moment, because there was no thinking, it was all experience, it was all feeling. What I understood in that moment is that this is the energy of God. It's a forever expanding, loving, beautiful. There are no words to explain it, right? But then when I looked around the earth, where I was, it was kind of like multidimensional. I kind of saw around the earth that the earth is connected to this God energy, right? God is everything and everything is God where I sit today. But when I looked around the earth, I saw kind of like a grid around the earth and what I call today the matrix or frequency fences. And I didn't understand what that was. I don't think my capacity was there yet. But as I went on my journey and I started getting really hungry to understand spirituality, I started to learn that the human species is under control, if you want to say, by different, denser, darker beings that have created a matrix. So when I saw the matrix at a later age, I understood, oh, that's what I saw when I was 14. And the matrix is a real thing. It's not like a philosophy or a theory like vibration, you said. It's literally a fence around the earth. And I really wish that every single person, whether they're on the healing journey or not, really understands how this works, because we can really grow so much when we liberate ourselves from it. So it's literally a grid around the planet. And it works kind of like Instagram. It has an algorithm. So whenever somebody embodies or experiences a higher vibration, whether it's in their love life or their business or their spiritual growth or anything that will elevate them into a pure, innocent, divine state, this matrix algorithm is going to kick in. And then it starts to project energy towards that person's consciousness, kind of like a Wi-Fi signal. And then these energies will be interpreted as lower emotions. So people might start feeling guilty or angry about something or upset about something or fearful about the future. So they lower the person's vibration. That's the main grid that's happening around the planet. I've disconnected myself from the grid, and I think everybody should, because that's how they control people. So people can't elevate. And then within that grid, they have different organizations that kind of get people off the path by different types of foods, different types of lifestyles that doesn't really serve our natural state.
What you just explained is probably the consensus. So if there is a star race that's basically trying to keep us in third dimension, it's almost like geofencing.
So true. Yeah.
But there's other star races that are trying to pull us out.
Absolutely. So it's like there's a galactic, I don't want to use the word war, but there's like a galactic situation taking place. So some races want to keep us captive. Other races want to wake us up. And that's when they activate us. That's when we get activations. That's when people start channeling, people start bringing in more wisdom. Ever since 2012, a lot of people have woken up. And that's because the beings of light have sent in massive energies towards the planet. So more people started realizing, hold on a minute, I need to have something more meaningful in my life. I need to have something more soulful in my life. I need to connect deeper to my spiritual essence.
Really good explanation, because we're hearing a lot about third dimension, the fourth, and the fifth.
What you're saying is so important, because the beings that are dark, let's call them, they come in through the fourth dimension. And that's why it's so easy for them to get a hold on the third dimension, because they come in through that frequency. The angelic beings and the high vibrational starseed beings, so like the Lyrans, the Palladians, Arcturians, all of those, the ones I work with a lot are the Andromedans. They come in from 5th, 6th, 7th, all the way up to 12 dimensional frequencies. So if somebody is in the third dimension and then they have a fourth dimension hold on them, and then you have fifth dimensional energies coming in, there's going to be like a buffer. So that's why our alignment is so important, so we can actually receive the wisdom of these guides. And just a side note here, those guides are actually versions of us, because we are multidimensional. We're not just humans. Like, our souls are having more than one experience at the same time. So the angels, the Andromedans, the Arcturians, all these beings, They are versions of us, kind of like you have a twin, but just doesn't look like you. It's a twin soul.
That's not the same thing as a twin flame, though, is it?
No, a twin flame is more about relationships. It's more about healing and releasing karma and things that have happened. Yeah.
How does all this play into the divine feminine and the sacred masculine, and from what I think is an imbalance trying to correct itself? We have, the star beings, the government's been hiding these things for decades, and now we're starting to learn more about it.
Where we are at now is actually a very important time in our ascension journey. Like 2012 was a big pivotal point. Lots of people had their awakening around that time. And now moving to 2025 is also another pivotal because the God frequency and the fifth dimensional lifestyle, the energy of that is actually available for us on the planet right now. So we got to make that jump from a suffering world into a thriving reality. So one day when I was meditating, I remembered something that changed my life in every single way. I remembered before the fall of consciousness, before the matrix came in, before these beings did what they did, I remembered that us women, we would sit in sacred circles together and we would harness the energy of our wombs. And that inside our womb was the energy of the earth. So the energy of our womb is connected to the energy of the earth. And we are part of this whole ecosystem. And we would literally communicate with our mother, which is Mother Earth, through our wombs and get all this wisdom from her on what we are to do as a species. And I realized that women are weavers of consciousness. Then we would go to the men that would also be in sacred circles, and they're the divine masculine. And we would share with them what we've just channeled, and then they would take that and bring that into fruition. And for a woman to access the womb wisdom within her, she has to feel very, very, very safe and secure in her body and really have her sexuality respected by everybody, including herself. And for men, they're the divine masculine. They need to have their hearts really cherished and really honored and really acknowledged and like maybe even bowed down to by women. So when the Matrix came in, they're very smart. They have people under amnesia for thousands of years. The first thing they did was divide and conquer. So they created separation between the masculine and the feminine. And men are always afraid now that what if a woman's manipulating them, or if a woman disrespects a man, he goes crazy. And a woman is always afraid that she's just being used sexually or her heart is not honored. So there's a lot of disharmony in the emotions between a woman and her own body, a man and his own heart, and men and women together. So it is so important that every woman awakens her womb once again and realizes that she's a high priestess. We're not just women walking around, and our voices matter, and our alignment is actually so sacred because the men that are on the planet are probably the most precious species. And instead of women belittling, disrespecting all the things that happen, like I work with couples all the time and it's like heartbreaking to see what's going on. Men are to be really, really respected and like even bowed down to, not out of inferiority, but out of honor, because that's what's going to bring the union back. There has to be a lot of trust between both genders, a lot of respect between both genders. So men doing their own work, women doing their own work, and then coming together in holy matrimony so we can restructure the healthy flow of the feminine and the masculine.
You mentioned the womb. Does this have something to do with the womb wellness method?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't really know anything about the womb. I used to be a tomboy. I was so suppressed in my voice. If you met me when I was like 15, I was the quiet one in the room that had no confidence whatsoever. I went to Egypt once on a pilgrimage and I met Isis. She visited me energetically. And I didn't really understand who Isis was at the time, but she said to me, "Let me show you what's been hidden from you." And I was like, okay, show me. And she started showing me a woman's womb, what it carries. And we have like a beautiful temple inside our womb where we can create life, not just babies, like we can literally weave consciousness. We can steer the energy of how our planet is moving. Right now, if you look at the planet, there's a lot of war, there's a lot of destruction, there's a lot of corruption, there's a lot of that happening. But we can change that when women really come together and stop being jealous of each other and competition and all that stuff. Realize the sacredness of sisterhood and reactivate the energy of our wombs and weave intentionally a new consciousness for our planet.
Once we get the divine feminine and the sacred masculine, when we restore the balance,
then we live in the 5D embodiment, because there will only be love, there will only be peace, there will only be unity, and there will only be God as center points. We will create communities that thrive. This is the ultimate goal of the human experience.
since we're talking about different types of beings, starseeds, what's your experience been with them?
So when it comes to star seeds, I used to talk to angels a lot. And one day before I was sleeping, I heard the word Andromeda. I didn't know what it was, but then I couldn't sleep that night. So I got up and I was like searching, what is Andromeda? And then I saw an Andromedan being and a diamond dragon come into my living room. I have a technique that Jesus showed me to always make sure that these are beings of light, because sometimes dark beings can camouflage themselves. Yeah. So I saw this Andromedan being and I saw this diamond dragon, and I understood that this was an Andromedan dragon. Then they kind of took me to Andromeda and they showed me that I've had many lives there. And they gave me this book. This book had all my teachings, all the notes I've left myself before I became human. And they activated all that knowledge and wisdom within me. And that was the start of my multidimensional living. I see beings all the time. They communicate all the time. There are dragons everywhere. They're very loving beings. Every race has its own speciality. Our lowest frequency on the planet is fear and resentment. Our maximum frequency is love and joy. The Andromedans, their lowest frequency is euphoria. So you can imagine. Yeah. So their energy is so expansive and so loving, and they have so much wisdom to give. But then you have the Arcturians. Arcturians are more like technicians, right? They've got a lot of healing tools. They give you a lot of devices that you can use in your sessions and stuff like that. So every species has its own uniqueness.
I've never heard about the Andromedans, that their lowest energy is euphoria. Makes me a little jealous, obviously. You did something with healing that has, I believe it's called past life integration. Is that different from past life regression, or is it related?
It's kind of similar, but what I've come to notice is that we can speed up our healing process very quickly, because our soul, when it incarnates to Earth, it doesn't just incarnate as Johnny or as Nada. We are split into many different experiences happening at the same time. So technically, it's not a past life, it's a parallel life. We are in India, we are in Egypt, we are in the past, we are in the future. We are having them all right now. Now, the thing is, Earth, because of the matrix, we only experience linear time. We don't really access our multidimensionality and are able to go in and out of all our experiences. So we have a lot of versions of us that are having a lot of beautiful experiences that can leak into this one. And we have a lot of versions of us that are having traumatic experiences that can leak into this one too. So when I first started doing healings, I would go into a past life, heal it, come back. But then I realized my guides actually showed me we have millions of past lives. So it's going to be like forever to clear them all up. And this life is kind of like our final chapter. Like this life is where we kind of put it all together. So we actually move to the next level of our evolution. What I like to do is I go into the quantum field. Let's say somebody comes to me and they have something simple like an abundance block, or they have a trauma in their childhood. If something negative is happening in this life, it has 100 million zillion % happened in many other lives too. So why clear it in one place and not clear them all at the same time? So I have the ability to go into the quantum field and open up all those lives at the same time and heal them simultaneously. So that subject is resolved once and for all, and then the person can really move to the next level.
And I've noticed that the time is not linear thing comes up a lot. And some people will tell me that there are no past lives, they're all happening right now. Or some people will say they're all concurrent. And the parallel universes, parallel lives are coming up a lot too. So you mentioned that sometimes a thing from one parallel life can leak into another. How exactly does that happen?
So when we decided, okay, we need to learn and grow, we sat with our communities up in the fifth dimension, whether they're angels, star seeds, or whatever it may be. And we decided that Earth is the next best thing for our evolution, whether we're here to experience human life or we're here to elevate human consciousness, right? When we come to Earth, we don't come as one person. We are split into infinite experiences at the same time. That's what we call past life, parallel life. So I'm experiencing a different reality right now, many different realities right now. So when I say they leak, the only reason they leak, it's not because it's something negative. It's actually because it's a whole soul journey that's happening. So it's not an individual experience. So your soul is all these journeys together. It's like a big puzzle coming in together.
Okay. So how do we disconnect from the matrix? You mentioned that you disconnected a while back. How do we do that?
There are so many different ways. I'll tell you what I did. I went into meditation and I took my consciousness. So I astral traveled out of my body, out of the Earth's realm, and out of the grid, which is the matrix grid. Then what I did was it kind of has like an etheric, not rope, but like a etheric energy coming into everybody's consciousness. So I disconnected energetically. I disconnected myself from the grid and I made sure that there were no coding in my system. Then I connected myself to the real grid. There is a real grid around Earth, which is the God grid. The Earth is the heart chakra of the universe. Earth is very precious to all beings in the universe. I connected myself to the God grid and then I came back into my body. That would be the easiest way to get it done.
God grid. I like the sound of that. What's really interesting about the matrix is every time someone brings that up, the explanation is very similar to what you just told us, that there's this race and there's that race. One is trying to keep us confined. The others are trying to liberate us.
The interesting part in all of this, even though this is happening, if you want to take it to the next level, none of this is even real because this is all a simulation. I don't know if you've heard that before.
Many times, but what I've heard is different from like the Elon Musk explanation of a simulation. It's like we get into between worlds, life in between lives, where we make our soul contracts. You're going to be my wife and I'll be the husband. And on next time we'll switch roles. It's like casting a movie.
It is. It really is. I used to have a lot of stuff I needed to heal. When Archangel Gabriel was teaching me a few things, he showed me two things. Imagine you're watching a Shakespeare play. If you're in the audience, you're going to see them with their swords and they're fighting each other and they're killing each other and you're going to get all emotional. But when the curtain closes, they're all going to give each other a high five and go have beer together and celebrate performance. That's exactly what it is.
That reminds me of one of the Long Island Medium's books. I can't remember which one it was. She's got a blue dress on the cover, but she said, life is like an episode of Saturday Night Live. Everybody wears all these different costumes and these different skits and so forth, but at the end of the night, they all hug each other.
Absolutely.
It's the same concept, right?
Yeah, it is. And when we live in that, with that awareness, it's so easy to just not be angry with anyone. Forgiveness is the key for us to experience God. So how can we get mad at anyone if everything's orchestrated anyway?
I was just watching a clip of Dolores Cannon.
And I love her.
She was obviously on another level. And the way she explained it was, you don't have to judge anybody. It's like a casting exercise.
It really is. I was reading a storybook to my son when he was like 4 years old. It was written by Neil Donald Walsh, the guy that wrote Conversations with God. But it's a children's book. And when I read the book, I was like, oh my God, I'm reading this for me. I'm not reading this for my son to read.
I've heard that before about that book too.
So you know the story about how souls come in and then the whole point of forgiveness. Yeah.
Forgiveness will give you wings to fly.
Oh, absolutely. I love that.
It's very hard for a lot of people to accept. What are the most important things that we can take away from your experiences?
I would say that God is everything. Consciously invoke, intentionally call in, unite with God and strengthen your faith at all times. Because at the end of the day, yeah, there's a galactic war, there's this going on, but everything is part of God's design and God makes no mistakes. God's a genius. We don't even know a tiny bit of what's actually going on, even though we know a lot. I found on my path that really the most important thing is just be one with God. cultivate that faith. The more faith we have with this supreme holy creator, the more aligned we are with our powers, with our path, with the people that walk into our life, with the quality of the experiences we have, etc.
So what exactly is God? Is it a source? Is it a person? Is it a being? Is it all of these things? Is it none of these things? Is it that guy on this cloud with long gray hair and a beard, or is it something different?
Yeah, it's funny how we all have that same man holding the cane, right? I was lucky enough to be raised in a house that there were many religions. We have Christianity, we have Islam, we have Jews, we have atheists. So growing up, we celebrated everything. So I know a lot of people are protective over their religion. But the God that I met and I experienced, and I still experience till today, isn't confined into anything. God is, for me, like an ever-growing, ever-pouring energy of unconditional love and real divine unconditional love.
Okay. All right.
So God's a frequency.
Okay, there you go. Frequency. Speaking of frequencies, the Great Spirit podcast.
Yeah.
What can your listeners expect?
I just started that podcast and I'm really excited about it. So basically, I've designed the podcast so I can go deeper into topics that I can't go deeper on Instagram or other social media platforms. And I really cover 5 main things. I cover the divine feminine, I cover the divine masculine, I cover the enlightened state, how we can all live enlightened. I cover the matrix and how to heal trauma and everyday issues that people face.
Nada, great stuff. Really enjoyed it. In the meantime, how can our listeners find you online?
My website, divinegreatspirit.com. And then from there, they can branch out, whether they want to join my podcast, the Instagram. And we have lots of freebies, different masterclasses, different ebooks, meditations that people can enjoy and use. They're very, very powerful.
You've been listening to Closer to Venus. I'm Johnny Burke. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing. You can find more info on closertovenus.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.